Welcome to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CRE PN Radio. Thanks for joining us. My name is Jay Darren Gross. This is the podcast focused on commercial real estate investment and risk management strategies. Weekly, we have conversations with commercial real estate investors and professionals who provide their experience and insight to help you grow your real estate portfolio. Today's interview is sponsored by Building Insurance and Risk. When you invest in real estate, it pays to work with a real estate investor protection specialist to protect yourself and your investments from catastrophic loss. The experts at Building Insurance and Risk focus on real estate investor protection. They provide you with multiple insurance coverage offers and a side-by-side coverage comparison. To learn more, go to buildinginsurancerisk.com. Today, my guest is Todd Drouillard. Todd is the sector leader of the manufacturing and product development sector within the national architecture and engineering design firm HED. And in just a minute, we are going to speak with Todd about how the pandemic has changed the supply chain. But first, a quick reminder, if you like our show, CRE PN Radio, there are a couple things you can do to help us out. You can like, share, and subscribe. And as always, we encourage you to leave a comment. We'd love to hear from our listeners. Also, if you want to see how handsome our guests are, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. You can find us on YouTube at Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. And while you're there, please subscribe. With that, I want to welcome my guest, Todd Drouillard. Welcome to CRE PN Radio.
Hey, great. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Before we get started, Todd, if you could take just a minute and share with the listeners a little bit about your background.
Absolutely. My name's Todd Drouillard. As was said before, I'm an architect by training, but I've been focusing most of my attention in the what we call the manufacturing and product development world. So it's the idea that my clients build, test, and design a multiple of things. I've been an architect for 24 years and hit a myriad of different projects. Again, it's been like a fun ride, and we've seen some economics go up and down, and we're currently in a very strange state where it's a very strongly market, and it's something that we've seen. I want to call it a kind of like a cultural shift, and it mostly happened, as everybody knows, after the year 2020. But most of my time has been spent in the commercial, like architectural, and the design of like buildings, small and large.
Got it. Well, let's talk a little bit about kind of where HED fits in this design world, or do you guys are you also contractors? Do you do any of the construction, or is it primarily design?
No, we focus mostly on the design and like engineering. We are a full service firm, so we also do not only the architectural, we do the structural, the mechanical, and the electrical work. So we don't exactly build, but we do partner quite often with national firms to build quite a bit of work.
And as far as the type of work you guys do, is it a mixture of public and private, or is it?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. We have with our K-12 and our like the higher ed, some of those are through public partnerships, but most of the work on my side of the business is all through private funds. Sometimes it can get involved with a B3, but most of the time it's through corporate size companies and works. Yeah.
All right. And as far as the type of projects, are they typically ground up, or do you get involved in any kind of renovation type work? Or
yeah, both. It seems to come in like ebbs and flows. There is quite a bit of ground up work, but where I'm at in Detroit, there's quite a bit of what existing legacy type of work, and there's quite a bit of like renovation, and like oftentimes there be what an expansion plan or something of that sort. But I'd say it's probably a 50-50 mix in most part. It's a lot of redoing of things that have already been built. Yeah.
Got it. And the renovation work that you're involved in, is it primarily like repurposing or updating
Mhm.
properties to fit a new need, or is it, or can you describe a little bit more about that?
Sure. So what we've been finding recently is there's been a kind of a mass, what amount of like office or corporate commercial work, and we've been asked by many of like our clients is like, hey, I have this space. What can we do with it? Can we turn it like into lab space? Can we do something with vehicle like testing. And so there's times it's best to bring us on as soon as possible to help them walk through those steps, because a lot of times there's like an office building may not be the right fit, or it could be the right fit with some minor tweaks and some minor like enhancements. And that's really where the architect can really shine and help out the owners. And so like recently, that's been I would say a more stronger trend in our like world. Landlords have a lot of space, and then it's like, how can we make this rentable for the next like tenant?
Yeah, I've noticed, well, at least the office, asset class has come under a little bit of pressure as of late. And, there's some pretty significant office type buildings and stuff, and um, let them sit vacant or to renovate. I know I've talked with some, and I guess it depends on what the options are as far as what you can do and how easy it is to do it. Is there a particular direction you've seen more often than not, as far as from, and then two, as far as
Correct.
a use?
There's actually two that have been kind of like the popular one. The one is going from like an office like environment into some type of well, let's say it's a later lab. It could be wet labs or like dry labs for research. Because one thing we did find out is, even though some of the office folks can work from home, the researchers can't, right? They need a lab. They can't do this work in their home. So what we found out is quite like often the owners will come about and say, we want to turn this like office space that was once let's say like a cubicle farm into a let's say materials lab. It's possible, you can do it. And with with sometimes with minimal work. The other side of it has been, there seemed to be a big push for for warehousing and storage. And one thing that has come out of this is trying to convert that space into a manufacturing space. A little more complicated, more power, more a lot of times it requires things that need to be changed within like the building, the structure. Again, great like retrofit, between those two.
Yeah, no, those seem like they'd be a little more practical. I know I've had conversations with others about, converting an office building into multifamily or something like that.
Yeah,
And it just, while the space seems like it might work, it seems like a lot of the infrastructure is not large enough or needs to be expanded so much.
yeah,
And I've
more
always,
plumbing and yeah,
yeah, I've always been kind of frustrated to see like a really big building be knocked down because it it's no longer useful in its original purpose and stuff. But I mean, who am I to say if that's what the developers or the owners want to do? Then I guess that's what they want to do. But it seems like, just from a standpoint of, if you have a significant structure, that there ought to be a way to repurpose it, as opposed to At least that's in my little brain.
Yeah, and again, what it comes down to, to like value, right? And
Right.
and knowing what the building can and cannot do, and there's been some great repurposing of like old like areas, and it's pretty uh popular, like in the Detroit like area for years. Detroit had a history of knocking down like buildings, building like a parking lot, for instance, and just really bad planning. And that's kind of turned around a lot, and it's been through corporate sponsorships who want to do the right thing. And again, how green is it to tear down an old building? You start to think about that. People are like, well, we can build something that's more like energy efficient, more modern. But it takes a lot of like energy and a lot of resources to tear down a building, for
And
sure.
anymore, just like the disposal of that. I mean, I
Yeah,
know, I don't think, it wasn't that long ago when people didn't think, twice about it. But now I know that all of the disposal fees of all the whatever you've got,
yeah.
and the effort to, recycle some of that is, um, significant. Um, so talked a little bit about kind of like the office and the warehouse kind
Mhm.
of stuff, or kind of the retrofitting or converting stuff. What are you seeing as driving the new construction?
New construction has been really, what again? It's the probably started maybe pre-pandemic, but I think the pandemic put everything into to hyperspeed. Some of the biggest things that like we've seen is the on starting to like onshore, what the manufacturing of products in, and it may not be so much in the United States, but also in like Mexico and Canada. We're seeing national brands that for years were built in foreign lands, but because of the shipping and the supply chain problems that we faced just a few years ago. They're seeing that there may have been a break in that. So we're starting to see more things built on North America lands, just because just for that very, very like reason of cost of the shipping, and how really green is it to have all these like cargo ships, with goods that you know that could be made here. Then I know a lot of the states have pretty I want to say pretty like aggressive tax uh, incentives to build and to bring in new jobs and new like industries, or things that used to be built here and weren't built here for a long time are coming back. One of the biggest ones is consumer like appliances. That's been some of the biggest kind of changes that I've seen. Like obviously vehicles, and then what the manufacturing of the EV car like batteries here rather than like overseas has been a big one. Now they are sometimes foreign companies doing the building here, but again, that's I always think it's like a positive to actually build things within this country. I think it's important.
Yeah, no, I think the notion of domestic or foreign gets pretty blurry, when you, like you said, the multinational firms. Uh, maybe they're located here, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think just having that close, not the proximity to from the where it begins to where it's eventually consumed or used,
Hmm.
was certainly highlighted in the pandemic, and all that. You mentioned the batteries. Is there anything that and is there any like a particular um, a group of, or is it, and I guess you also said the appliances,
Yeah.
are those probably the biggest that you've seen as far as coming on shores, or?
Yeah, it's the biggest two things that I've what experience. I'm sure there's more, but those are the big with with the consumer like appliances and tools, and then down to the like EVs, because if you think about every vehicle, right, used to have sense of the older downward, kind of be moving towards more towards a greener light vehicle. All these vehicles had many, like an engine, a transmission, all these parts that needed to be built. And then now, if we're going to completely revamp the drivetrain to batteries and electric light motors, we need spaces to actually build those. And so some of the biggest projects right now going on are large battery plants. It's been the big build, and they're happening all over the United States and Canada, and soon to be moving in to Mexico as well, I'm sure.
Interesting. Well, and so you say that's like one of the biggest things you're seeing. What is like an approximate square footage of a plant that would be doing the EV
Yeah,
batteries?
when I first got into the like industry, it was if you could build a million square feet, it seemed like it was a monumental, huge project. These plants are 2 million plus. Some of them are 4 to 5 million square feet, and I think it's just because of the idea of the mass production piece. There's not a lot of them, so what I think the idea is to just build more product and like in the space, so they become these massive square like areas. And what I think a lot of the at least the clients are starting to see, that it almost makes sense to have these more large, like regional plants, and having a bunch of small ones, because they're highly, first of all, they're very like expensive to build. Then it's like, you need the workforce to support it, of course. And then the other side of it is they're highly technical. So to reproduce that again and again just gets more costly for them.
Yeah. No, I mean, 2 million square feet. That's not, that's no small feat.
It's big.
That's big. Um, and as far as the kind of the bringing stuff on shore, are there specific regions that are experiencing more of this than others?
Yeah, I just think just the like overall cost of shipping, and I don't have like the data here, so I don't want to put out like figures, but I've heard that some of like the shipping has gone up quite a bit, 2 to 3%, or 2 to 3 times what it used to cost to actually have it shipped from another spot. And not that we're importing things, I mean, and export importing. That's gonna uh, uh, continue to happen, but I think it's starting to uh, uh, w- you know for like instance, does it really make sense to be building, let's say, a wash machine like in Poland? And then of course there's all the, we can start getting into some of the problems Europe has, in the sense of wars and whatnot going on. um but does it really make financial sense to build a consumer good that's already probably priced down to like a to like a price point, to be built in a a foreign land, shipped on rail to a port, and then from a port all the way to, let's say, to a port and to the US? And how do you keep that stream, from being stopped? So if one leg industry, then that three leg industries stop, where does that good go, right? When it's stuck at port, or it's stuck on a rail car. Whereas if it was built directly in the States, it's probably a quick ship to a warehouse, and right to the consumer's door. So uh, we're experiencing a large growth like in the South. So like the southern states, mostly from I would say like the Ohio River south and from the Mississippi east has been a major like manufacturing hub, and that's where it seems like a lot of a lot of the new, I would say the new like factories are being built. And what I think it's just there's a couple of things going on there. There's like obviously great tax incentives there. There's a skilled workforce. There's a growing population. So you start to add like all these things like into play, and it starts becoming I'm gonna say like a hotbed for a new development.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you've got a growing population that needs, what it is you're building, that cuts down a lot on the transportation costs there.
Yes.
Um, Beyond the transportation, kind of the overseas to domestic, is there anything that you're seeing in the design and the build
Yeah.
of the plants and the facilities that you're seeing that's really um, having or that's dramatically different from what we were doing, say, 20 years ago? Um,
Yeah. Well, for one, for the first start is, uh, there's been a couple things. One of them can point towards what employee retainage, right? Nobody wants to work in a kind of a cold box, right? Or in this sense like a hot box. People want to see, natural light. They want a well ventilated space. So the building codes have helped that the last 20 years. There are requirements for more like natural air. There's more like insulation requirements. But the other thing that we're starting to see is some of like the manufacturers are starting to take these green, I would say green like initiatives very kind of right, like right to the product. So the idea of your product is built in a green like factory that's could be zero carbon. We're starting to see more use of wood. Wood is a sustainable product. It can be replanted and regrowth. The use of like mineral wool instead of like a foam based, like a polymer. So there's a lot of that's starting to happen. The what assistance of wind and solar, huge. A lot of times these new facilities are really starting to jump on this, and it's a great thing because again, we only have one place to live, and so we better take care of it. And what, again, if you're going to be selling green products, green things, people want to know, where's it coming from, you know and I think it can be a great like marketing tool.
yeah, I've heard that a lot of the consumers now are even very conscious of um, what the ethos or the kind of mission statement, or how it's all made, and from a manufacturer, and kind of what their commitment to the green is kind of affecting some of the younger consumers as they look forward to making purchases,
Yeah.
as opposed to just the usefulness on their end, or the cost. I think that's probably the from the baby boomers, like more and cheap, 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 and but it's kind of neat to see it change. Are there any things that specific things that in when you're looking at a new design, or a retro, that you guys are implementing there to
Mhm.
make it more green, more? I mean, is there any is there a list of things that
there
you're seeing that you're putting in?
There are, and what it starts at I'd say at a more 30,000 foot kind of view, and then you kind of start to hone in. So the first things that we do is when like when we're going through like a project, it could be through programming. We ask the clients, what are your green like initiatives through the company? A lot of times, they have kind of a need and a want to actually jump on board and to be proactive. And there's things that there's kind of the easy things that we can do that we've been doing and can do on every project, but it's the above, going above and beyond that, we try to push the like envelope a bit. So having some early conversations about solar or wind, or how can we clean the water, before it, gets off the site. So those are the high level ones, and then you start getting it like into more of like the granular type things, like low VOC for carpets and paints, and all those things that we should be doing. Products have gotten a lot greener in the last 10 years, 15 years, which was pushed by the lead in the U.S. Green light building council. They've actually the good thing about it is the manufacturers responded very well. Though the buildings now are far less like toxic than they were before. Um, then going into a deeper conversation could be, how can a green product or a green, let's say, like HVAC, save you money, like over the long term. So a lot of times we will help them with some cost, like modeling and return on like investments to see if it works. Um, and firms like us and like others, we have sustainability. I would call them like champions, right? Who we can bring in early to the project and go like over all these like items, and then it's really like a checklist. And unfortunately, it typically comes down to cost, because sometimes there is some first run cost. But if we could show them how those costs could be clearly, slowly like amortize, like over time, that often helps the conversation. But really, what I like to do is get into the products. Like, I like to know what my clients make and do, and then when you can tell a story behind that, it usually is a little more of a sell in my in my like and it really starts to it really starts you to think of what are we really doing here, and how can we help you, and how can the building help your product.
Yeah. No, if you could make that get some buy-in, how it's going to help them, I would think that'd be a whole lot easier sell than here's a box and put all your stuff in it. Um, I'm kind of curious on some of the green and ecological kind of stuff that you were talking about.
Mhm,
It sounded like when you were saying that the manufacturers have responded to that,
mhm.
was that primarily in response to like the lead certification stuff that you saw that happening, or
Yes,
was
yeah.
there any kind of public or code changes, or was it even a matter of incentives from? Was there any kind of financing incentives, like maybe grants or anything like that that's helped push that along?
Maybe yes and no to some of those. With the products, uh, um, uh, themselves, I'm talking things like, carpet and paint and, lighting fixtures and things of that sort. Those have mostly been driven through the green like initiatives. Nobody wants to put a toxic like carpet, and I would say cause like issues with their like employees. So they responded pretty quickly. The other side of it is the building codes have been changed quite a bit from let's say when we had some of our like universal codes, and they're more, and we've gone to like an international code, and what that code has done as like increase the amount of like HVAC that that's acquired, and really the shift to going from a from like the older type of light fixtures to like an LED, that has been a drastic change. Um, kind of like the way we used to light interiors, and even let of course the outside as well, has dramatically changed and dramatically lowered the amount of light energy these spaces start to use. Um, and really, what it's been driven mostly by the building codes, because the amount of like energy per square foot has actually been reduced like over time, and the efficiency on like, and the quality has changed as well. Now, what I know we could get better and we can do better, and there's kind of a good, better, best approach to all buildings. But I think having a strong like baseline has helped.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. I know in some instances I've seen like the quote green stuff, and then you compare that to like the less green product of yesteryear, and the durability has always been kind of something I've got like, wait a minute, the new thing, it's green, but it only lasts this long, whereas the old
Yeah,
one lasted this long. What's more green, the one that that's
good
still
point.
there, or the
Yeah.
one that I've had to replace 4 times to you know type thing? Are you seeing any are there any instances like that you've seen in the design and build of these larger buildings where there's it is green, but it's the life expectancy of it is
Yeah.
not measuring up?
Probably mostly, I would, there's probably not one particular product like people can go back and say, well, lead paint was great because it would stick to like anything and it'd be great, or certain products because it had that like additive. So you can kind of go in that way, but it's really you know just from putting on my like engineer hat here, even though I'm an architect. But um you know yeah, I have heard that some of the newer, I'm gonna call them let's say like the motors within like equipment, is not as strong as they used to be. They just don't last that long, and I'm not sure if it's the way that the electrical like motors wound or something of that sort. But I have heard that if you were to put in a new rooftop topic unit, you may not get the 20-year life you used to. It may have like a 7 to 8 to 10 year life. So there is
Yeah, I think.
some conversation around that of like, are we really doing the right thing?
Yeah, no, I think that's to me the one thing. I think LED lighting, I'm a fan all day, every day. I think it's just the less energy, the more light,
Mhm.
bright. It's
Last longer. Yeah.
yeah, I'm a big fan of the LED. And I'm a fan of being green. But I think some of the arguments sometimes I wonder, and maybe it's something just you start, and then the next generation is that much better, and it continues kind of thing. So I mean, I'm assuming there's some sort of an improvement uh, that will continue,
Mhm.
which is good. But it's just I remember that I was like, wait a minute, my parents had this thing and it lasted
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Now
The old
you can't.
refrigerators and the
Yeah, wash
yeah,
machine or
wash
whatever it was.
machines. Now you're kind of hear like the sales pitch. It's like, well, you're not going to get the 25 years. You're going to get maybe 10 to 15 if
Well, or
if you're
even
lucky. Yeah.
I sometimes they'll come out and say, well, it is 7 years old. You ought to probably think about replacing them. Like, what? I mean, that wasn't part of the purchase plan there. So, but Anyway, hey, Todd, if we could, I'd like to shift gears here for a second.
Sure.
By day, I'm an insurance broker, and as such, I work with my clients to assess risk and determine what to do with the risk. And there's three strategies we typically consider. We first look to see if we can avoid the risk, and if that's not an option, then we look to see if we can minimize the risk. And when we cannot avoid nor minimize the risk, we look to see if we can transfer the risk. And that's what an insurance policy is. It's a risk transfer vehicle. And as such, I like to ask my guests if they can look at their own situation. It could be your clients, investors, the political air, interest rates, whatever you believe or what you see as the biggest risk in your world. And again, for clarification, while I'm an insurance broker, I'm not necessarily looking for an insurance related answer.
Sure.
And so if you're willing, I'd like to ask you, Todd Drouillard, what is the biggest risk?
The biggest risk that we face right now, and it's nearly on every project, both large and small. It's uh, the actual long lead times to get either equipment or the materials. And what that comes down to is that it's really risk to both cost and to the schedule. It's been the biggest thing is the so what happens is a project gets started, gets planned, the architect is engaged, we're doing the work, the engineering's been done, the project goes out for a bid, and long behold, some of the equipment that's been specified for the project, it could be things like roofing, insulation, roof deck, mechanical, electrical, equipment, gear, and we find out that it's a long lead time and it's beyond the project time. So you'll never get, let's just say X, in the amount of time that you thought it would take. So it's extending the schedules, and as everybody knows, time is money, especially when you have, like the contractors with their hands in their pockets. You need equipment, you need goods, you need all these things to put the pieces, like in place. So, the biggest risk that we're seeing now is lead times on really equipment and products. And there's ways. So there's a couple things that we do in the the like industry to help like minimize that. And a couple things that we always try to instill is kind of doing, you kind of plan in from the worst case back. So it's kind of like planning in reverse. And if there's a way to pre-purchase or to pre like order all this equipment and have it brought to the site within like a reasonable time, so then it can get installed. So it's that idea of just in time. If you can plan ahead, and it takes time, and it takes it takes a good design team to kind of think ahead. But if that's all done, there's really no risk at all. And it's really hard to kind of push off that risk when you're at the will of multiple folks trying to procure all these things. And one way to do that, again, is to pre like order these things. And of course there's risk in that, uh, that piece of, well, because you have to have a lot of trust. But and there's really not a way like out of it, unfortunately, until the lead times come down. But that's probably the biggest risk that I face on like a daily part. And I'm sure the owners, contractors, and everybody else is having the same like the same like issues.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious on that kind of thing with the materials availability issues, are you then speccing kind of like a first choice, second choice, third choice in in those situations, or to try
Yes,
and
yes, we try to find the best, times. Some of the problems is though, if you want to get moved up, let's say sometimes it kind of like in front of the line, it could actually cost more, right? So the supplier may say, well, I can get it to you quicker, but there's an upcharge,
right, right,
or you may want, the owner may be okay with brand B, but brand A is like available, but it costs more, but it's like a shorter time to get that particular one. So there's risk there, and there's some additional costs that may not be planned, like in the budget.
yeah. No, sounds like a challenge that's not quite yet solved. So
No,
good luck with that.
thank you.
Hey Todd, where can the listeners go if they'd like to learn more or connect with you?
Sure. The best way to learn about us is www.hed.design, DESIGN. And what again, we have 9 offices around the United States. And we work on a variety of projects, but we always love to hear what are like owners and contractors have to say. I would say we look at everything, but we would be willing to look at any type of project.
Awesome. Well, Todd Drouillard, I can't say thanks enough for taking the time to talk today. I've enjoyed it, learned a lot, and look forward to doing it again soon.
Great. Again, it was a pleasure to be on.
All right. For our listeners, if you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, the more you know, the more you grow. That's all we've got this week. Until next time, thanks for listening to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CRE PN Radio.